60 laps of practice of the first SMX race of the year. Well, there you saw it. Jett did not look fast. He did not look fast. Panic button, anybody? That is literally the very first lap that they've been out here, and that was just good timing. But I have a TV meeting in about 11 minutes, so we're gonna make this an 11-minute Weege show. I'll see how closely I can stick to that. So welcome to the playoff, round 1. Playoff next week will be in Dallas. They're playing Metallica behind me, which means my video is gonna get flagged. It's gonna cut into my 11 minutes. And thank you for Honda for backing these shows into what we now call the postseason. Check out the CRF450R and CRF250R, all new for 2025. Jett's on one now. You saw Hunter racing one since Unadilla. And today we had a press conference. A lot more buy-in than I expected. I had a conversation earlier. This is really not a zone I should be standing in. When even the flaggers are perched up against the wall, I should probably not be out here walking what we would call in racing terms a hot racetrack, which means there's vehicles, bikes in this case, on it. Anyway, I just had a conversation about where are we in year 2 of this. And look, man, I've been around a lot of skeptical people and riders and teams for a long, long time. It's just a normal thing in life as Justin Cooper goes by.
Riders trying to keep yourself up to speed right now.
It's just a normal thing in life when you've had any job for a long time, and I've had the one I've had here at Racer X forever. I'm up to year 23. Half of my life I've worked for this one company. I have other jobs as well, like a television job and all that, but any person that has worked doing the same thing for a long time eventually becomes somewhat jaded to some things. It's just the nature of the employee thinks their supervisor or middle manager probably doesn't know as much as them, and the middle manager probably doesn't think that their boss knows as much as them. Everybody is just a little jaded. I've been around this sport for a long time, and I've seen a lot of new ideas come in. And most of the time, the new ideas are met with, that's gonna suck. This is not a sport that really embraces change, I feel, and maybe that's not even fair. Maybe no sport truly embraces change. So I gotta get to where it's quieter here. I was fortunate enough to be a little behind the scenes, kind of on the leading edge of this. Daniel Blair and I hosted the very first press conference when they announced this thing 2 years ago in LA, and I knew what it meant. I was in enough meetings to know that just the fact that the Motocross and Supercross series are working together and working more closely with the riders and teams than they ever had before, that one piece alone was going to guarantee that this worked to some degree. But on the outside, I think people only knew it as, I don't know what this is, but now they're gonna have 3 races at the end of the year. I already knew it was a bigger thing than that. The collective coming together, like I talked about on this show last year at Charlotte, this is the symbolism of finally it's one sport, it's one thing, it's everyone working together. I knew that that would make this a success. Check it in. But very few other people knew that. So I thought this would be the standard. Something new comes in and people are one eyebrows up, maybe they're pumped on it, maybe they're not. It's gonna be wait and see for a while. No one really blasted it or made fun of it last year. And now this year we see real buy-in, like riders coming back from injury to race this. And it's really, you can just measure the vibe. You can just measure how they feel about this. And they're not over it. They're not mad that they got to race another month. And let's be honest, there's a lot of money. And that could be 99.9 or 100% of the reason that the riders are all in on it. But that's why the money's there. That's totally fine. So, for whatever reason, I'm impressed that 2 years after this is announced, we're already at the point where we have a press conference and Eli Tomac looks fired up. He says it's exciting, it's new, it's different. I talked to Eli this morning. He's never raced one of these events before, but I said, well, this is a really fast open track. That's what you like, right? And he's like, oh yeah. This is, I think, the way Eli would prefer all tracks were. I don't think he likes the tight stuff in Supercross. I think he likes a Daytona type track, which this is conceivably a little bit closer to. So that's awesome. If you told me in November of 2022, how would Eli Tomac feel about these playoff races in September of 24, I would have said, I don't know. but he's pumped on it. So, that was the most important thing. The most important thing was to get buy-in from the people that matter. And the only people that matter, the only people that truly matter are the athletes. If they don't care, you're gonna know. If they're not into it, you're gonna know. The entire product is based on how hard do they try, how bad do they want it. And for a new championship, a massive, massive change compared to something we've been doing for 50 years, the other two championships. But to be embraced to this level this quickly, I think that's all you need. The rest of the details will work themselves out. Hybrid tracks, double and triple points, riders switching teams or coming back from injury. Those are just details. None of those work if the riders don't care. And the vibe from the press conference today was very good. Guys are in a good mood. And look, the check's clear. And these are professionals. If the money is what motivates them, that's their job. That's great. I do a lot of work, mostly because I'm getting paid when I do the work. You probably do as well. So that's awesome, and it's led to a good product. And then the vibe I get, because the riders care, because they're coming back from injury, then the vibe I get from fans, like the epic bench racing we have seen this week. You could not have invented a better scenario than, we don't know. We don't know what Jett Lawrence we're gonna get. We don't know what Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen we're gonna get. They're coming back from injury. What about the guys who are healthy? The Plessingers, the Hunter Lawrences, the Justin Coopers, the Jason Andersons of the world. Are they ahead of those guys who are coming back from injury? Or is Jett Lawrence gonna leap ahead of them? And at the very, very top, we have this perfect dangling carrot at the top of the pyramid. There is Chase Sexton, healthy and ready and motivated and everything going his way. Can any of those guys get into his orbit? There's no way we can know, it's just guessing. So now we have this perfect scenario. The teams want it, the riders want it, they're all trying, and we have this almost Anaheim 1-like unknown. The whole reason to try to build this playoff thing in the end is because motorsports is weird, where the most anticipated event of the year usually is the first event. Where the team sports that have playoffs, the most anticipated event is the Super Bowl or the World Series or the World Cup or whatever it might be, right? Anaheim 1 has always been our most exciting event because it has the most unknowns, because everybody's coming off on off season and new bikes and teams, and you truly can't guarantee anything you don't know. So I believe the hope is, like, can we shift some of that same vibe, that same excitement? Can we have it at the end of the year as well? Build to a crescendo instead of everything just slowly dropping in anticipation as the year goes on? Well, this year at least, we magically have that scenario. You never want to be pumped that guys got injured. That's never good, but it has gifted us this wild scenario where last year's champion of this and Jett Lawrence dominant in Pro Motocross, all the Jett Lawrence hype, but we don't know what Jett Lawrence that we're going to get. We have no idea. We don't know what Eli Tomac we're going to get. Eli looked like he was in a great mood today. Maybe Eli's better prepared for this than we realize, even though he's still coming back from an injury to a degree. So that's what I love, the great unknown. We almost have an Anaheim 1. I got to go back over to this meeting. My 11 minutes just about up. We almost have this Anaheim 1-like unknown today, and we don't have to wait till Anaheim. But if you still want the Anaheim thing, we're still going to give you the Anaheim thing in January, which is awesome also. And then one other side note that I've learned now that we've had SMX going into year 2 is that it's also unlocking some venues that wouldn't have really worked. Like, this is not a perfect place to have a motocross race for sure. And a Supercross, we've seen some hybrid, Supercross races at speedways. They did a drag strip one time in Joliet way back. I think that was in 2000. But we kind of know what motocross is, and we know what Supercross is, right? You can't really reinvent the wheel that much. Motocross takes place at a motocross track. Supercross, for the most part, takes place at a football or a baseball stadium. Having this allows us to unlock some, let's try this. What if we did races at a 4-wide drag strip? What if we did more races at the infield of NASCAR speedways? You can do the experimenting here, and I mean, this is a great atmosphere. Charlotte Motor Speedway, the amount of amenities here, this is I would imagine that every fan that came here last year or comes here this year is going to say, hey, I've never been to that track, but that was really cool. There was great camping, great parking, great viewing, pits were awesome. There's like a giant mall like 2 miles that way. It has the most stuff you'll ever have to do. You cannot have more stuff to do in one area than in this area. It is as packed with stuff to do, restaurants, hotels, shopping, all that, of any place you can go to. Because these, I mean, they have 100,000 people come here for a NASCAR race. This place is ready for it. But we were never able to really touch that and see what it would be like if we experimented with it, besides Daytona once a year or that Atlanta race. And those are risky, right? Those are risky to try something totally different when we already know that the stadium and motocross model, those work. So this allowed us to unlock that a little bit. And it was a part that I hadn't really considered. I think we focused so much on the points and the hybrid track and all that to think about, oh, what are these venues going to be like? And I think that part has been accepted better as well than maybe expected. So it's all about buy-in, and we got the buy-in, much more so than I would have thought in 2 years. I knew it would be good because I just knew how important it was to have everybody on the same page, and this is what allowed that to happen, or that is what allowed this to happen. So I knew long-term this was gonna be good. I just didn't think that 2 years after they announced this, that we would be having a press conference and the riders would be vibing to this level. So that's pretty awesome. And then the real winners as a byproduct become the fans, where you get 3 more awesome, highly anticipated races to watch on TV. And I get more work. I do get paid to work, right? There's nothing wrong with that, everybody. Anyway, I'm excited, you're excited, I'm excited that you're excited. Let's do it. We'll see you tomorrow. Race Day Live starts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. This is the day race, everybody. And then we have a pre-race show on TV at 2:30 Eastern, and then we're racing at 3. Myself, Ricky Carmichael, and James Stewart in the booth. Another thing, like, are you kidding me? We just take that for granted. Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart are the announcers? A lot of good stuff going on here, people. Thanks to Honda for backing our show. See you tomorrow night for the Weege show. Tomorrow afternoon racing.